This is the second part of my discussion on Asperger syndrome and driving, and the thing is, the thing that led to me getting these L plates was this thing here. Disability driving instructors, specialist tuition to help you to learn to drive. And if I do a part 3 of this discussion, I'll show you that. I'll show you the back of this leaflet on it. But as I said, I got in part 1. I got up to where I started having lessons with this driving instructor called Nigel Warburton, who teaches who taught you in an automatic car, and I had a lot of lessons with him. What happened was he gave me lots and lots of lessons, and he suddenly drew. I was still living with my mother in my mother's old house when he was giving me lessons. When he started giving me lessons, anyway. And he took me to the side of me street, he drove me back to the house where I lived one day, and he says, "I don't think that you'll be taking that you'll get to the point where you'll be taking your test, because it's taking you too long to learn. You haven't even got up to reading roundabouts yet." And well, what I told him was, this Jenny Knight, who was teaching me previously, she told me right from the very beginning that it would take me years. Well, he says, I've taught more people with your condition than what she has, though. Well, it says, I watched this film last night about Eddie the Eagle Edwards, and everyone was saying he wanted to compete in the Olympics, and everyone was saying he couldn't do it. So he says, you're comparing yourself with him then? Well, I said yes, I am. So well, he said oh, okay, I'll give you more lessons then if that's what you want. He didn't refuse to do it. In fact, he never actually refused to do it. There was one day when I drove a considerable distance from where I lived. I think I drove all the way from the house in Barnton where I used to live. I think I drove all the way to Sandbach and back. And then, just as I was turning left into my old street where I used to live, I had this sudden lapse in concentration and lost control over the car. And it could have, if he hadn't been with me, it could have gone anywhere. I mean, I could have crashed into someone's wall, or basically I could have crashed into anything. I could have crashed into a person and killed them if he hadn't been with me. And he said that was one of the things that put him off. Basically, he after that happened, he had to give a little thought to. He had to have a think about whether I should have more lessons. He was going to refuse to. He was thinking of stopping me lessons, but he didn't. He says, "I'll have a think about whether I'll give you any more lessons or not." And in the end, I got a text from him saying, "I'll give you another lesson at such and such a time on such and such a day, like they do." And I thought, yeah, okay, I'll carry on with it. If he's willing to let me carry on, I'll carry on with it. And what happened was, I moved out. I changed my address. I moved out of my mother's old house and went to live in the flat where I am now. And I did get as far as doing roundabouts in the end. anyway, he didn't think that I was going to get. He still didn't think to the point that think that I would get to take my test in the end. He said, do you want to be like Eddie Eagle Edwards? He says. Eddie the Eagle. He got to compete in the Olympics, but he didn't win anything, you know. So he says. He says, ask your friends what they think. He says about whether it's worth you carrying on having lessons. And I thought, ask me friends. That's a bit of a weird notion, isn't it? What was that going to do? They never driven. They never seen me drive. So I thought what'd be best to do was ring up my old driving instructor Jenny Knight and ask her what she thought. And so I told her what I rung her up, and then I told her what this Nigel Warburton had said, and she said yes. If he says you shouldn't have any more lessons, I would listen. She says I would stop. And so that was it. I stayed off the roads for a few months. Not sure exactly how long it was, but I stayed off the road for a considerable amount of time. Well, one of the reasons why I wanted to learn to drive was because I fancied being self-employed. I've only ever actually worked for a very short period of time since I left school. You see. I've always wanted to work really, but my mother never really encouraged it because she thought we'd be being on the benefits that it was on. She thought it was too risky. She thought I am allowed to work up to 16 hours while I'm on them a week while I'm on them, but she thought that if it did work, they stopped me benefits if it worked really. So my dad was even more so like that because he grew up in an impoverished household. You see, because his father died when he was a child, and he didn't want me to be in the same situation that he'd been in. He just wanted me to keep my benefits and for as long as what they could. And he didn't encourage me. He never encouraged me to work, but I always did want to work. And I've had quite a few voluntary jobs over the years. After my mother died, one of my carers told me about this Grow Zone Garden Centre in Northwich. And if you look through my videos on Northwich, Cheshire, you'll see there's a few. There's a few video clips that have been taken there, and I have been going there for a long time now. But it started there around about autumn 2015. It comes up on my Facebook. I started there November 2015. I don't think I was going there before. I might have been going there a bit before that maybe, but I don't think. It was the first place of. It's actually the first. I'm still going there now periodically, and it's the first place that I went to since I left school that they really gave me a lot of. They've given me more encouragement than the other voluntary jobs have been to. I had one that I was helping out at a charity shop called the Headway Charity Shop. And my boss there, she wouldn't let me ticket clothing or go on the till because she didn't think I was capable of doing it. But when I went to the Grow Zone Garden Centre, they just let me do anything. They gave me loads of encouragement. Because of this, I actually fancy myself as being self-employed, but to be self-employed, you need to be able to drive to be self-employed. That's the thing. 'Cause, I went to Reesheath College in Nantwich and got my certificate in practical horticulture. I've passed that, but the driving part was really the thing that I found most difficult about it. And I went after I stopped having lessons in the automatic car with Nigel Warburton. I went down to the job centre and asked them about asked them about being about me having a gardening business, where I went round on a bike and took tools round on the bike. Well, they said, "Oh, you can't do that. You need to be able to drive. You need a car or a van because to carry a lawnmower in." And they didn't know. They said that you've not got the appropriate vehicle to be self-employed. And anyway, I just kept going to the Grow Zone Garden Centre and kept off the roads. And after a few months, I thought I'll have another go at learning to drive again. I found this other driving school called the Safe Start School of Motoring, and they teach you in automatics. And I did quite well. My instructor was called Ross, and I did very well. He helped me a great deal. He did diagrams for me to help me to learn. I think he's the best instructor that I've ever had out of the whole for bunch of. I've had 4 instructors now. It's just instructors, and he was the best one, I'd say. But I was having in. It was what happened was he thought I'd done very well, but my progress was suddenly plateaued, and he wasn't sure if he was the right instructor for me. So he had a look online, and he recommended. He found that I could do this drive. I could go to this driver assessment centre. To see what they thought, to see if they thought it was worth me, if they thought it was worth me carrying on with it. Then suddenly there was this COVID-19 thing started, because it was like sort of spring 2020. This COVID-19 pandemic suddenly broke out, and he had to stop giving me lessons a bit before the lockdown started, because he was living with someone with an underlying health condition. So that had to stop with him. So then it was off the roads again, and I would be off the roads for a very long time after that, because when driving lessons restarted again, he couldn't give me any more because he was retired. Anyway, I went to this driver assessment centre, and I suppose I could show you my report, but for that really. But there isn't any need. I can just tell you what the report said myself. It just said the my performance on the roads wasn't really what they'd expect of somebody who'd had as many lessons as what I've had. That's what they thought. they did other tests of it was like similar to what an the sort of test that they give you. It's similar to an IQ test, really. They do tests like that. It's like when you have an aptitude test in the RAF. There's a funny episode of Some Mothers Do Have Him where Frank Spencer's doing one of these aptitude tests and he completely botches it up and ends up smashing his. This wall ends up getting smashed, ends up wrecking everything, but it's like a sort of an aptitude test, and they test your ability to drive a car as well. And they thought that the performance on the road wasn't what you'd expect from somebody who'd had the number of lessons I've had. That's what they thought, but they didn't rule. Well, once again, they didn't completely rule out me having many more lessons, and they recommended a couple of driving instructors for me. One was Nigel Warburton, the one that I had previously, and the other was this woman at Altrincham. Well, Nigel wouldn't. I texted. No, he contacted Nigel. I think on Facebook. I think it wasn't because, but by this time, he just wasn't willing to give me any more lessons at all. So this was the leaflet that I got here from the driver assessment centre. And Nigel Warburton wouldn't give me any more lessons, so but by this time, no. But before I actually I forgot to mention this. I passed my theory test before COVID-19 started. When it was still with Ross, when I was still having lessons with Ross, I went down to Chester and passed my theory test. Did quite well with it. I didn't do amazingly well, but I did manage to pass it. But that was before the whole that was like in like January, February 2020, before the whole COVID-19 struck. When this COVID-19 thing started, I had to stop having lessons completely then. Anyway, in the third part of the discussion, I'll let you all know how I went on with after COVID-19. Anyway, bye.